Hi everybody, welcome to Jenkins Boat Works. I am Chuck Jenkins. We have got a ton of work done on this Yukon racing kayak. I think when we last left, we were thinking to cut a hole for the coaming and the cockpit opening. And so this video today will be about that. We're going to have another video coming very soon because we have faired the hull and used the plane and sander and just made a whole bunch of progress on this, and actually have gotten the hulls apart. So be looking for that in an upcoming video episode as well, and probably within a day or so of this video we'll have the next one out. So we're super excited about it. We're really pleased with how well it is all going, and so glad that you're here and can kind of keep up with our progress on this. As if you've been following this, you know that we are building this Yukon racing kayak for a friend of mine, and he is going to use it in the MR 340, which is a Missouri River race from Kansas City to St. Louis. 340 miles across the state. So we want to make sure we get a good boat put together for him, and we're super pleased with how it's coming out. If you haven't seen all the episodes, we do have a playlist. We will link the playlist in the video description and also at the end of the video. And if you happen to be new to the channel, welcome. We're glad you're here. Consider subscribing. Jenkins Boat Works has got lots of boat building projects and different video playlists of various different things, all the way from a stand-up paddleboard to a 12.5-foot Haven sailboat. We're actually working on another sailboat over here. We got interrupted with this. But anyway, yeah, check it out. If you like what you see, consider subscribing. It helps us greatly. All right, I'm going to jump in and show you what kind of progress we're making. So with the deck stripped, now I'm trying to figure out where the coaming goes exactly. We'd already cut out a pretty good template of the coaming recess. So what I've got to figure out is where does this edge lie in relation to the cockpit, and we're going to have to take a saw and cut away this excess stripping. So you get a full-size plan that I have now cut out, and it shows, you know, where your forms are and a center line, so it's half of it. Now the trick at this point is that I have covered up most of my references for center lines. Like up here, it's in the frame, which is inside there. I can still see my center line here and here, and I know roughly where it is here because I'd put in one strip down the center when I first started doing the deck. So I've got a pretty good idea. I did some measurements. I tied a line from the bow all the way back nice and tight to the middle of the transom, and what I found out was that I could get a pretty good estimation of where the center line is, and it matches up with these reference points on these two frames. And so I drew some lines up here to see where that's it. Now I'm putting my pattern on here. Now I don't know if the humidity has warped the paper, or because I got such a three-dimensional thing going on here that it's hard for this thing to just lay on here right when I line it up on the center lines, but it's just kind of wonky. So this is supposed to be frame 110, but you can see that's kind of lining up behind it. Here, it's lining up pretty much right on it. Here, I don't know because the frame's covered up, but I can see where my staples are. So I'm pretty sure that, you know, I'm really close. So I've taken a pencil and I've gone in here and I've drawn a line that's kind of inside of what this paper would show. I would rather have to trim out more than make it too big. And now I'm going to flip it over and try to see if we can get a reasonable idea on the other side. So here's my line that I've drawn. You can see I've done it a couple of times. I'm going to use my innermost line anywhere I see something like this. And I am going to place my cockpit recess on here and just make sure that where I'm got my line is not going to be way outside of where this dude's going to fall. If I would happen to cut it out too big, I could redo this and make it big enough to fit the hole that I cut. So although this seems very critical, there are things to do to fix it if I goof it up. Now, you just saw me lay that in there loosely and not even trying to pay attention to if that recess, this piece of plywood, is where it's supposed to be. But man, look at how that's kind of lining up with my cutout. I mean, we're just almost right on that dude. So that tells me that that my pattern is probably really close, and if I can draw a line in here and cut this out, cut away these strips, I'm going to be getting real close to being where we need to be. It's a little scary because there's a lot of potential for goofing this up. But one thing I've learned about boat building is that just almost anything you do, if you goof it up a little bit, it's usually fixable one way or another. So we at least have that going for us. Well, this is going to be pretty cool. The other thing I could do is just line this thing up on the center line and just start drawing around it. But, you know, the more I look at it, I think I'm really pretty close. So, all right, so I am going to draw that line around there. I surely do want that thing to be symmetrical, I'll say that. Man, I like the way it laid on this side better than that side. I'd be lying if I didn't say I was nervous, because I am. I'm gonna pull some staples. That should be therapeutic. The other thing I know about this is that where the frame comes up and it's got a hard bend to it, and you can't see it anymore now because it's pretty well covered up with these strips. I can see it from the inside. Is where that should come, like where the because the frame was these ones here that we didn't put any strips over the top. They were flat, and then they had a hard break on them, and where that hard break is really kind of should be where this cockpit line is. So there is that. Okay, so I've got a line drawn all the way around here, and I'm kind of judging things. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 strips up here, and the line comes right to there. So I think that's right. I can see where the break is on that, and the line's almost on the outside of that. You could take a jigsaw to this maybe, but I'm going to run into these frames. So to start out, I'm just going to use a multi-tool here and very carefully see if I can kind of make a cut. Okay, this is nerve-wracking. Let's just go right here. Oh my. That's definitely the right tool. That's definitely the right tool. Okay, just for giggles. Yeah, that could be really close. Okay, I'm gonna stay inside the line. Take a break, take a break, take a break. I'm still staying inside my lines. Just too afraid not to. Okay. We're doing great. Yeah. It's all good. Hey. What are you doing? You're eating my plan. Oh, Toby. Oh my God. Well, I guess I already have my lines drawn on here, and it's a good thing because Mr. Tobias Rex is over there shredding this thing. Ugh, what a dog. Never had one like him. Crazy thing. Whew. Okay, all right, just keep on rocking on. You're doing great. Oh my. Now what do we think? I didn't cut in too far, that's what I think. Okay, well that was very scary, and we did just great, and I'm no longer scared. Look at that! How's this fit on here? Silly dog. Okay, so I kind of sanded this up to kind of get the edges nice and regular, and then I put it back down on here, matching up my center lines. And so now when I did that, I drew a better line, pencil line, all the way around here. I don't know if you can see, like right there. So that's where I think I need to get down to in order for this thing to sit down in here the way I want it to. And so we're kind of starting to get close. And I took the multi-tool very carefully and went back in there and tried to cut more to that line. But I stayed inside it just because I was scared. And it's kind of chipping this out a little bit, which I'm not liking very good, but like where the strips were glued together, there's places where it just wants to kind of piece apart. So just had to be pretty cool with that. I started using my rasp to try to, get on down here, but it's pretty rough. And it was tearing out a little bit too. So I think we are to a point where we're just gonna have to sand it. And I've got this little mouse sander. I've had this for a long time and I just love it. And I got, what is this? Some 100 grit. And this should allow us to get in our tight spaces and get down to the line here that we drew. And even up here, like where we're right close on this mold, we should be able to kind of just get right in there. So that's what we're gonna do, is see if we can get a nice clean cutout area to where we can glue that thing in. That line, and we're going to be able to smooth out little humps like right there. Yeah, this is good. And then I can get right in those, on where the frames are. So yeah, this is working good. Well, I thought I had the camera running and I did not. I couldn't get this thing to lay in here the way I wanted it to. It kept moving around. I tried to tape it and I couldn't figure out how I was going to glue it. I finally ended up using my super glue with the accelerator, and I started back here and I put in like 2 little dots back here and glued it in, making sure that I was on my center line up here. And then I just slowly went around, then I tacked it down here, here, here. You can see the spots where the accelerator's discolored it. And it's pretty tight. Now I've got a little gap up here, but it's gonna let this sit down in here, which is good. I'm just gonna fill that with some thickened epoxy. And that'll let that part of the coaming in the front just lay right down flush with the deck, which I'm really good with. So it really was kind of what I was trying to shoot for back here, but it was going to be impossible to get it to do it on here. With this angle coming up like this, it was just going to be almost impossible. I may go ahead and sand this part off even with the deck here, just this little ridge. But I think before I do that, I'm going to put an epoxy, fill it in here, thickened epoxy, and just make sure that we're glued down good and tight. And we'll do that before we do any fiberglass work, just to make sure that we're where we want to be. And I'm going to sand these pencil marks and numbers and what have you off of here now, now that we've got it in there where we want it. So this was maybe one of the most difficult parts of the whole thing, at least so far. And the fiberglassing doesn't scare me or bother me at all. Probably what will also be a challenge is when we've got everything glassed and the whole thing's all ready to go together, and we have to put the deck and the hull together to where they have to join up. And that, at that point, may be challenging, because by the time we fiberglass the top and the inside, it's not unreasonable to think that the shape of this may shift just a little bit to where it mismatches when we try to assemble the whole thing all together. But that'll just be another bridge to cross when we get to it, so I'm not too worried about that. And I do like how this is coming out. The only place I've got any little gap is right there. And like I said, I think I can get that just lay down in there, and we'll put epoxy in there, and that'll just be kind of a smooth transition with the deck. I like it. It's gonna be great. Okay, I'm mixing up some thickened epoxy. I'm using some West System. I got a little bit of sawdust in it and a little bit of silica, Total Boat silica. So it's pretty thick. It'll run just a little bit, maybe. So I'm gonna put it in this bag. I'm gonna try to put it in this bag. Because I want to try to use this kind of like a cake decorator bag, kind of. I probably made more than I need, but I don't know how much I'm actually going to get in this bag. So. You want this thick enough so that it stays where it's supposed to when you go to put it where you want it in here, but at the same time, it's hard to get it in here. Some of this I'm just going to take it. You know, I probably could have done it like that. I can be more exact with where I place it this way, though. Okay. Now, I'm going to try to move it down in this bag. Okay. I'm not at all happy with this bag that I got. It's like pleated. I wish it was just a square, simple bag. Okay, that's about all I'm going to get out of that. Let's see if we can spread this around a little bit. I'm trying to create a seal, and we're trying to lock this thing down. So we're putting in what's called a fillet. And this has got nice gap filling properly, because I had just the tiniest little places where you could see some daylight up in the front of here. And I put tape on the outside of this all the way around. So hopefully when I'm pushing that in there, it's being stopped by this masking tape. I mean, it's all the way around. And so that should give us a nice clean look when we flip it back over and take that tape off of there. Man, that just worked out to just be the right amount. That's great. Kind of want to clean some of that up off of the side there. I don't really need that like that. But at a point, you got to just go, okay, we're good. If you like the video, remember to like and subscribe. We'll see you next time.